So obviously lots of people are still talking about NXT's upcoming move to Tuesday nights after WrestleMania. Of course, the Wednesday night wars between NXT and AEW Dynamite are coming to an end. And there's some details now about an NXT team meeting regarding the move to Tuesday nights. Now, WWE announced this week, I can't even remember when it was at this point. It feels like everything just moves so quickly in the world of pro wrestling, especially in WrestleMania season. NXT recently announced that NXT will be moving to Tuesday nights on the USA Network as part of a multi-year extension with the cable network. The move had been rumoured for over a month, and it ends the battle between NXT and AEW Dynamite on Wednesday nights. Now, on the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer radio show, Dave Meltzer revealed the details of a team meeting that was held before this week's episode of NXT. The focus of the meeting was the move to Tuesday nights for NXT. Now, the meeting began with a reflection of how far NXT has come over the past 6 years. It was noted that they came from being a small brand that sold out a show at WrestleMania 31 to one of the top brands in WWE. It was also pointed out in the meeting that they were on Wednesday nights first. However, the competition came into their night and tried to bully them. Finally, it was noted that Raw is now their lead-in, even though it's on a different night, and now they have a night for themselves. It was stated that with NXT on Tuesdays, everything is going to change. Now, there was some interesting notes there, especially when using the word bully. The AEW had come into their time slot, their nights, and tried to bully them. Now, as I mentioned, subsequently, another version of this report has come out, and more accounts of this meeting have come out. Now, Triple H discussed NXT moving to Tuesday nights during the pre-show talent meeting before Wednesday's edition of NXT, but he did not say, reportedly, that AEW came into Wednesdays to try and bully NXT. As I mentioned, it was previously reported that Triple H had a talent meeting on Wednesday and commented on how NXT had grown over the past 6 years from a small brand that sold out a WrestleMania 31 week show to one of the top brands in WWE. The original report also claimed that Triple H used the word bully when talking about how NXT was on Wednesdays first until the competition came to NXT's night. Now, in an update, Triple H did not use the bully term to describe the situation or even refer to AEW. Dave Meltzer corrected his original report on Twitter and noted the description of the meeting was largely what was said, but two sources have since said that the bully line was never said by Triple H. The bully line never being used was also confirmed by Fightful Select. Their report noted that multiple sources vehemently denied that Triple H said anything resembling that NXT was bullied off Wednesday nights. It was also reported how Triple H focused heavily on the reasons for the move to Tuesdays, telling the NXT roster that going on the night after Raw is a good thing for the brand. Triple H also said the move to Tuesdays has been in the works for a while, noting that USA Network officials first considered the move as far back as last year. He also said there are a lot of opportunities for NXT replay airing on Peacock, and he hopes that people focus more on the show rather than the viewership and the ratings now that the change is happening. As mentioned before, it was noted how everything is going to change for the brand now that they are on Tuesdays, with Raw serving as somewhat of a lead-in. NXT will begin airing in the weekly Tuesday night 8 p.m. Eastern time slot beginning April 13, which is the first episode after next week's two-night TakeOver Stand and Deliver event. So it's a really interesting story. First of all, it's interesting that Triple H had this meeting. That's no surprise. I mean, it's a big move. It's a big move for NXT. So you would hope he would have a meeting like this to discuss what's going to happen for NXT going forward. You would have hoped that he would do that, and that's what they've done. I think this is the problem. This is the problem with sometimes with pro wrestling media and pro wrestling journalism and pro wrestling journalists in general, that I think it's credible that Dave Meltzer has come out and said, look, the bully line wasn't used, the bully term wasn't used. The issue is that it's already been reported at this point, and some people won't see that second report, or some people won't care to see the second report. People will only see that first thing that Dave Meltzer mentioned with Triple H saying, oh, NXT, we were doing great on Wednesdays, and AEW tried to come in and bully us off the night. To be honest, when I saw that, I had a lot of trouble believing that to be the case, because Triple H, look, they're moving to Tuesdays, and part of the reason is partially AEW. I don't think it's the whole reason. Obviously, the NHL is a massive reason. That's ultimately the reason. That's the main reason. The main reason is because the NHL, NBC Universal have got that deal with the NHL, and they have to have the Wednesday night slot open for NHL games. That's the reason. That's the main reason. Obviously, I think USA Network would probably look at it and say, look, we've got to move NXT because of the NHL, but it's probably the best thing for the brand without the competition of AEW, which they're not succeeding in, moving to Tuesday nights with no competition, being closer to Raw. It's a win-win. It's a win-win. And I think that's what Triple H is trying to explain to all of his talent and staff there at NXT. And frankly, I would have been incredibly surprised if Triple H holds this big team meeting and basically says, yeah, we were doing well on Wednesdays on the WWE Network, and then the competition outside of WWE, another pro wrestling company came in and bullied a WWE property off Wednesday nights. WWE doesn't do that, even if they're losing. We've seen them do it for 18 months now. Even when they've been losing, some weeks worse than others, they never come out and say, oh yeah, AEW, they're bullying us, all this kind of stuff. I know Triple H has kind of said that a couple of times on conference calls. He's used the line of, well, we were on Wednesdays first and all that kind of stuff. And my response to that is it's apples to oranges. It's always been apples to oranges to try and compare that to... If you want to get really technical about it, yes, NXT were on Wednesdays first, but... It's so different. It's so different. You have to look at it this way, that NXT was on the WWE Network. It dropped on Wednesday nights, but it was a tape show. It was 1 hour, and I don't know how many people truly watched NXT live when it was on, or when it just the first airing on the WWE Network. I think the majority of people, because it aired on the network, watched it on demand, or they watched it, the day later, or whatever. Because that's really what you do for the network. The only thing you watch live on the network are pay-per-views when they're happening. Apart from that, everything else you watch on demand. Like even the Broken Skull sessions, I know a lot of times they air after the pay-per-view on a Sunday. I always watch them earlier on in the day whenever they drop. So again, no one really watches anything live on the network unless it's a pay-per-view event. So I don't think that was the same for NXT either. So yes, they dropped on a Wednesday, but they weren't in the same time slot. They were a 1 hour show. It was on the network. It's apple to oranges to say, well, we were on Wednesdays first. Furthermore, AEW Dynamite, they wanted to be on Tuesday. That was originally their aim. They wanted to be called Tuesday Night Dynamite. AEW, the trademark's even there. They trademarked the term Tuesday Night Dynamite. And then unfortunately, TNT came to him and said, look, we've got NBA games. And that takes precedent. So we need the Tuesday night time slot for NBA games. Tough. So AEW's moved to Wednesday. That was it. AEW didn't want the war. WWE obviously did. They did because they moved them to the USA Network. And USA Network is I don't want to say a failing cable network because that's incredibly harsh, but their viewership, I mean, these are just facts. The figures are out there at this point, but the USA Network's viewership is not what it was. I don't even think now it's ranked in the top 10 of the cable networks in the United States. So because of this, and because of their original programming not doing great, the programming on their network that does perform well is WWE. So they lost SmackDown to Fox. So when WWE comes to them and says, do you want NXT? They're like, absolutely, because despite Raw having not great ratings, they're still the best ratings that USA Network has. So absolutely, they'll have another WWE property, and it was NXT. So that's why they had it, and they moved it into that Wednesday slot. As I mentioned, when it came to the initial video announcing that NXT had moved to Tuesdays, it's the right thing. It's the right thing for everyone. It's absolutely the right thing for everyone. The idea that worked in the 1990s with competition is a good thing. Let's get that straight. Competition is a good thing. Competition is a good thing for business. Competition is a good thing for quality of content. Competition ultimately is a good thing for talent. It gives them an opportunity to go somewhere else. There isn't a monopoly on the wrestling business. You can go somewhere else. You can earn a living. You can hone your craft. You can be as creative or be as fulfilled as you want to be. It's not WWE or bust. That's the most important thing when it comes to competition. But the idea of competition on the same night in the same time slot, like we saw in the Monday Night Wars, being good for business, is just proven not to be the case now in 2020 or 2019, 2020, 2021. It's just not happening. The audience of who is watching wrestling on a Wednesday night is the same. It's 1.5 million people pretty much. And if you've got two shows, you just cut it in half. Last night it was the same, wasn't it? The ratings came out for AEW Dynamite and NXT this week, and I think AEW Dynamite was around 700,000, NXT was 650, something like that. Again, it's pretty much that 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 million viewers that are watching wrestling on a Wednesday. It's been the same since the beginning of the Wednesday Night Wars back in 2019. And I think AEW, do they think that they're going to get 1.5 million viewers on a Wednesday? I don't think they will. I think they'll get a lot closer to a million now because there's no competition. There is no competition. If you want to watch wrestling on a Wednesday, you watch AEW. I think NXT will look at it and say they would at least have, I don't know if they're going to crack a million. I really don't know that to be the case. I think they might hope they get close, and they should be getting closer. But there is there's no competition there, so they should be doing better. And I think the USA Network made a very good point during their press release when NXT moved to the Tuesday, that historically on the USA Network, when there's been pro wrestling, it's done well. It's done well. SmackDown Live, of course, was on a Tuesday night for several years as part of the brand split, part of that 2016 brand extension. SmackDown was moved to Tuesdays, it was live, SmackDown Live, and guess what? It did pretty well in that time slot. It did pretty well. Now, NXT isn't SmackDown. It won't have the star power that SmackDown had in that time slot, but again, USA Network are looking at numbers here, and they're saying, well, previously with Raw as the lead-in on a Monday and having NXT or having SmackDown rather on the Tuesday, it did pretty well. People like that continuity of having one show there and then the next night you can carry on with your wrestling. So I would hope, and I think NXT would hope, that they do well in that time slot. I do agree with Triple H as well in the sense that hopefully this kind of, it won't end the discussion about viewership and ratings, especially initially, because people will be looking to see how AEW and NXT do without the competition in both of those time slots. But hopefully this constant focus on your success being determined about how you do it, how you're doing in the viewership and how you're doing in the ratings, hopefully that subsides a little bit. And again, I don't think it will initially, but over time I think it will. Because NXT at this point, they need to get back to what they were good at. And I do think that moving to Wednesday nights on the USA Network, they lost something. They lost something about their identity. They lost something that I think made them special. They lost what made them unique. They had a format and a system that worked for them on the WWE Network. They're a 1 hour show. And I don't mean this as any disrespect, but largely what they did on these episodes of NXT was kind of irrelevant. People didn't pay a lot of attention to it. People would watch the shows occasionally, but if you miss one, it didn't really matter. What mattered is you watch the takeovers. And they had to change that. Obviously, they went to a 2 hour format. They went to week storytelling. I think their storytelling was sped up massively because of this desire to get good viewership and good ratings. And I think that kind of changed things. And because of that, NXT became a version of Raw or SmackDown, which it wasn't in the past, which is why people liked it, because it was underground, it was gritty, it was under the WWE umbrella, but it was different, and it kind of lost its identity. And I think Triple H and I think those NXT officials and the USA Network officials as well will be hoping that by going to Tuesday, NXT just gets its identity back. It gets its identity back. It becomes its own thing once more. It's not got any competition. People aren't as focused on the ratings. They're focused on the product. And I think they'll be hoping that, because I mean, I'm part of this thing. I cover pro wrestling, and some weeks you have to watch the highlights because you don't have the time. And I know that, you know, this means wrestling's on pretty much every night now, because you've got Raw on a Monday, NXT on a Tuesday, Dynamite on a Wednesday, Impact on Thursday, SmackDown on a Friday, possibly an AEW or an Impact event on a Saturday again, and a pay-per-view on a Sunday. But it does make it slightly more manageable. And if you're a pro wrestling fan, I guess you don't necessarily mind watching it every night of the week, although it's going to be interesting to see what happens to some of these shows, because I think when it comes to shows like SmackDown, by the end of the week, you just might be burnt out. You might be burnt out, and it's going to be interesting to see that. But when it comes to that talent meeting, again, I never, when I saw these initial reports, I think it was probably a case of people hearing what Triple H has said in the past on these conference calls about the whole Raw on Wednesdays first and putting words into his mouth. Again, you have to remember where this information is coming from. We've spoken about it tons and tons of times. I'm not an open Dave Meltzer basher. I'm not one of those people that says, I can't trust him. I think he does have a decent track record. But as is the case with any journalism, and this isn't just pro wrestling, this is journalism in general, the idea of people being impartial is very, very difficult. Especially in the world of journalism, because everyone has their sources. Everyone has their sources. I don't. I don't. You can trust me. I don't have any sources or anything like that. No one talks to me. But the point being is that sometimes with journalists, they have to have their sources somewhere, and it is a bit quid pro quo. That's how it works, you know. If you give me some information, I won't bash you, or I'll leave you out, or if you come up, I'll praise you. That's how it works, unfortunately. That's the dirty world of journalism. And again, that's not limited to wrestling. That's everything. That's in sports journalism. That's in political journalism. That's just in journalism in general. You have to get your information from somewhere. And we know that Dave Meltzer does have a lot of ties to AEW, so maybe it benefits them to say, you know, AEW came in, they bullied us. I don't know. It got a lot of people talking, and then once again it comes out to say that it wasn't factually accurate. Who knew? Who knew? But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on Triple H meeting with talent ahead of their move to Tuesday nights? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community, drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube, go up the rankings and get to people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.